What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back here to another day. Here it's the Diamond Lion. Today we are back in Disney's Hollywood Studios, at least for now, my favorite park in all of Walt Disney World. Today we're going to be going over the holidays and how they are celebrated at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Last year, Disney brought out a very controversial sort of competitor to Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, or kind of a complimentary piece to the holidays and a ticketed event at Walt Disney World. So Disney's Jollywood Nights, which I attended last year, a lot of people have interesting thoughts about Jollywood Nights, and I'd love to know what you guys think of it if you've been before in the comments down below. Now, I could say personally that I actually had a really good time at Jollywood Nights. My experience might be different from a lot of people because I definitely do my research with Disney, so I obviously know a lot of sort of the ways to kind of go around it and tips to make sure you have the best possible time at Walt Disney World and during things like Jollywood Nights. Maybe if you don't have any kind of game plan, I could see it being kind of difficult to have a good time there. But I will say in my personal experience that things went really good when I went down there. Now, I will say I also didn't go to the first week or the first couple. I didn't go till the first week of December. So they had a couple of parties to kind of figure out some of the kinks in the armor, per se, that were maybe holding back this area the first couple of weeks that it was running. And I will say there's not much time. There's not much time, and there's a lot to do. And I think a lot of people would argue that they probably don't give enough time, and it doesn't seem like there is enough attractions. So it is kind of interesting to see different people's viewpoint of the Jollywood Nights event. And I would say from what I've seen so far this year, unfortunately I'm not attending this year, but I will be back next year, and I'm very excited for that. And it seems like some of the things that they've kind of done between year one and year two, they've definitely made some adjustments. It seems like they're using this offshoot area where the kind of the exiting from Fantasmic, that backstage area, they seem to be using a lot more for Jollywood Nights, similar to what they do at the Magic Kingdom with that, using that backstage area. It seems like they do something very similar to that this year for Jollywood Nights. Now, obviously, coming in through the main entrance here, you could see a lot of that white garland, that sort of tacky, vintage Christmas decoration aesthetic. And, I mean, it makes sense, right? You're in Tinseltown, so it only makes sense to have sort of a tinsel-like, a tinsel-looking, how do I describe this? Yeah, it looks like tinsel, right? It's a tinsel garland. And this stuff looks really nice at night. And they have snowfall here down Hollywood Boulevard, which looks great. It's really something that is a very nice touch. And especially when you come into Echo Lake, they have some really great decorations here. You've got kind of the tacky Christmas decorations here. That one's probably my favorite over here, one of the signs. And you've got the ornaments down here on the little offshoot in the pond. Of course, you've got the fabulous, famous Santa Gertie. So all these little things like this. Get your Gertie cookie in there, which I was able to do last year, which was really nice. And this event is, it runs an hour longer than it did last year, but there's still issues with this in the sense that the one at Magic Kingdom, you could get in at 4 o'clock and you get early access to the park. This one, you don't really get that. I think it starts at 6, and I think last year it started at 7, so you get an extra hour compared to last year, but I still don't think that's enough. I think the 4 o'clock thing, especially since you have that as the precedent, I think Disney's kind of missing the mark there, in my opinion. I think they really should try and get that to 4 o'clock. Because, you, like I said, you already have it with the Christmas party. You really should have that. And I think the other precedent they set is they don't have the free things that you can get. Like if you could get a free Santa Gertie cookie compared to paying the $5 or $6 that it costs now. When you have the free things that you have at Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, it's a lot to stomach when you've got things that it just seems like more of a cash grab, right? With this one, because it doesn't really seem like they're offering enough. And that is one thing I wish that they would do at some point, and maybe one day they will. But I do genuinely think that is a bit of a missed opportunity in terms of maybe trying to get people to kind of be on their side more for Jollywood Nights. And I think that's the problem with this, is I think as an event in itself, if you look at it just for what it is and you separate it and you don't compare it to Mickey's Very Christmas Party, it's actually a pretty good event. And I was able to do the things I wanted to do. I was able to get the food that I wanted. I didn't wait in super long lines for anything. The longest line I waited for was for the Disney's, what is it, the Christmas in Hollywood show, which is here in the normal Beauty and the Beast theater. But other than that, I mean, there really isn't too much that you're kind of missing here. This is really nice. A lot of people like to see that. I think it's called Holidays in Hollywood for some reason. I don't know. You guys can let me know down below the exact name of it. They have the Nightmare Before Christmas holiday show, which is where the soundstage where they do the, I want to say that's where they do the Frozen show during the day. I think at some point this is some kind of test for Disney to see how popular Nightmare Before Christmas and that type of attraction could be. I would love to see some kind of like permanent show like that in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Some kind of Nightmare Before Christmas. I think that would be a perfect IP to add. I don't necessarily know where you could add it. For some reason, I could see Echo Lake being a interesting choice for that. The only problem I have with Nightmare Before Christmas is it is kind of a seasonal thing, and to make like an entire land on Nightmare Before Christmas might be too much. But if they were to add just a singular attraction, like a Magic Kingdom Fantasyland type of thing, where you just, like, you take out Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, as much as I would hate to see that attraction go. If they were to put a dark ride there, maybe you do something like that. I could definitely see that being something that could fit. But truthfully, I think, and this is for another day's tangent, I could definitely see them replacing this area one day and putting a flume ride of some kind in this park. And maybe the next Disney princess that pops off, similar to like an Encanto or Moana. If they could find a way to kind of, I hate to use this word, but to kind of stuff a Disney princess in here other than Frozen, I think they could be doing that in the next round of expansion in Hollywood Studios. But I could see that being pretty far off though, because I think they still want to do something with the animation courtyard area. Disney, you kind of have to do something with that area before you touch Indy, in my opinion. Probably should have been touched before they touched Muppets, but that's for another day. We've already gone on those rants before. Now, if you go, and this is kind of for this year, and that's kind of it, but back by Muppets, they do have a kind of a Muppets Christmas Carol like photo op at the Studio One Company store. They have the Jollywood Nights merch, all in that Stage One Company store. Back here by Muppets. If only that store has been open since the pandemic, but I guess Disney didn't want to reopen that area for some reason. Kind of a shame. Because not only did we lose Muppet merchandise back here, we lost, like, Nightmare Before Christmas merchandise, too. That scared me. I genuinely thought they closed the Muppet area already. I got very nervous about that. Don't do it to me yet, Disney, please. MC Magic, leave this open until Monsters, Inc. is open. Please keep this open for us. This is a plea from me and all the Muppet fans out there. Please keep this area open as long as possible because I love this area so much. And it pains me because I will probably never be able to actually walk down this street again in its current form. And it makes me very sad. It really does. And that happened when I went to... when they closed the backlot area. A couple of you were asking me questions about that here on the channel about would Disney and specifically MC Magic, if they're going to close this area right away. They're probably not going to close it for a while because you have to think, by the time this actually gets its announced closing date and by the time they start constructing it, you know, technically Star Wars Land isn't even open to the general public in here. You have to donate to MC Parks to get access to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So there are areas like this. This was the old, like the Honey I Shrunk the Audience and the Streets of America. That was here for probably like a year after they already started demolition, and to the point where Streets of America and all this area was already gone. And they were doing vertical construction on Star Wars and the new Grand Avenue area. They were already doing vertical construction, and that was still there. So they're probably going to wait a pretty long time to take this area out, if we're going based off of recent history. But it all depends. And if you keep up with the MC Parks on Twitter and Reddit, and they also have a YouTube channel here on YouTube, and they announce certain things. But I'm sure all their D23 Expo plans that they came up with have probably changed a little bit because of all the stuff that they announced, like Muppets closing here for Monsters, Inc. And, you know, some of their plans are probably... They're probably not even really considering Muppets at this point. They just opened the Moana Journey of Water. They just opened Communicore Hall, like, this month. So those types of things that they wanted to get done before the end of 2024, like, they have their sights on other things. So, I would say Grand Avenue and this whole Muppet Courtyard area is probably safe, at least for the time being. I don't think they're in any rush to, like, just close off this area and just have it empty where you can't come back here. I'm trying to remember what else we wanted to talk about here. I mean, I kind of wish, you know, obviously, since we're back here, we're talking about Streets of America and Grand Avenue. Back in the day, they used to have this area called Streets of America, and they would put lights on all... They had a bunch of facades on this side, and all the way down here where Star Wars is now. And all these facades had Christmas lights on them, and it was called the Osborne Family Christmas Light Spectacular. And I will tell you right now, of all the attractions that have closed at Walt Disney World, I think this, Osborne Family Lights, and the icicle lights on Cinderella Castle, those were probably the two biggest losses in all of Walt Disney World attraction history, in my opinion. More so than Horizons. More so than Muppets and the Great Movie Ride. I think those were two losses that a lot of people really... There is so much sentiment toward those particular... I don't even think you can call them attractions, but whatever that version of an attraction would be, losing the Osborne Family Spectacle lights was huge. And I have a VHS tape of, I want to say 2006. Me and my grandparents were walking through the Streets of America with the lights through the snow. And every time I watch that video, it definitely gives you watery eyes. And I know in the future, when my grandparents maybe are no longer here, those are memories that I will probably bawl my eyes out every time that I see that video, because it really is a memory that, as much as I love attractions here in Walt Disney World, that is something that will always stick with me for the rest of my life. And maybe it's a personal thing. Probably a bunch of you were like, they were just a bunch of lights. The Diamond Line, who cares? But to me, those lights were fantastic. And then over here, you've got some interesting stuff for Jollywood Nights. They've got some food in the ABC Commissary. In Animation Courtyard this year, they have some interesting stuff. They have some interesting overlays, like they used to do kind of the photo op thing over here. They don't do that anymore. They actually have a giant pond over here now, and it's called the Glisten. It's like an ice skating show. And that's right here in front of the Chinese Theater. And before we wrap up today, I'd be remiss if we didn't go back toward Toy Story Land, because Andy dresses up his backyard, and there's a whole bunch of Christmas theming in Toy Story Land. And they already have the Christmas lights that kind of line up this area here, but they go even above and beyond that. Oh, and they haven't done, I guess they don't have Roundup Rodeo Barbecue set up yet. That's back there. But they've got all the Christmas lights and things like that back here all year, but they add even more Christmas theming. They've got like the Green Alien. They've got Green Alien Christmas ornaments they put in front of the Swirling Saucers attraction here. They actually put over like Christmas Jingle Bell songs and things like that here for Jollywood Nights. So even Swirling Saucers has kind of a fun overlay to it. Not sure why it's not working. There we go. Jump on this for a minute. I've actually never been on Swirling Saucers. I have not yet done this one. This is pretty fun. In real life, this is actually more thrilling than I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be like, oh, it's like the teacups or something like that. No, like, this is actually kind of scary. You definitely whip around pretty good on this attraction. And I will say that's another tip. You want to walk on attraction during Jollywood Nights, take a second to come back here and go on this. It is definitely worth it. And Slinky Dog Dash, if you don't get Lightning Lane and things like that, I know it eats into your time a little bit, but the lines are really short for Toy Story Land. That's a great area to hit up during Jollywood Nights, because you can get it all pretty quickly. Like, you could get it done. I was able to do all the stuff that I want to do. Like I said, the only thing we didn't do was we didn't really do a ton of the character meet and greets. We did two. We met Donald Duck and Goofy last year, so we didn't meet like Stitch or Duffy or Phineas and Ferb or anything like that. Which, mind you, those are some of the characters you can meet. Some really great character meet and greets there. Powerline Max, I think, is there too. Santa Duffy, I think, is there. Scrooge McDuck. They've got some really good characters during Jollywood Nights. And I didn't get to do the Nightmare Before Christmas show. That was the only other thing I didn't do. But I'm not a huge fan of the whole, like, the sing-along aspect. And I'm also not a huge fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. It's just not really my thing. And that means that means a lot if I'm saying that they should put a Nightmare Before Christmas attraction in. Because, to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. But I understand there is definitely an audience there. And there's a lot of merchandise. And believe me, I know, because they sold a lot of it at that Muppet store. That Studio One company store backed by Muppets. There's a lot of opportunity there with Nightmare Before Christmas. They also have a special, I think it's a hot chocolate Pop-Tart, or the, whatever you want to call that, the tart, whatever they have here in Toy Story Land. That's like a festive thing, and that's pretty good. Definitely should try that. And over here they've got Woody. He's got like a little wreath wrapped around him, and an ornament by the sign here. You've got some character meet and greets that are right along this area here. There's a lot of stuff going on during Jollywood Nights. They open up this Pixar area that used to be, and they've got a bunch of like dance party stuff going on. You can meet like the Inside Out characters, joy, sadness, things like that. Really cool area. And that's pretty much it. That's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any other questions, tips, or comments about Disney's Jollywood Nights, let me know down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. If I missed anything, let me know. I really do love Jollywood Nights. I know a lot of people have not been a fan of it in the past. I'm excited to go back next year, and I'm glad that they stuck with it. I know year one was not necessarily the PR that they were hoping to get, but I think with some of the moves they've made, I would say this is a much improved party. And if you don't like it, you don't like it, but I would definitely say give it a try at least once and see if you like it yourself. Thank you so much for watching today, guys, and have a great holiday season.